Perfect. Good morning. All right. Day one, I thought, again, we did a really good job of coming out hot. And there were a lot of things that we worked on in practice that were applied to that first match. And our girls were able to see that. We were able to get our middles involved a lot more, which was very beneficial for us. I think that was a huge part of our success in that first match. We didn't necessarily pass very well. I don't think we served tough. We got them out of system a lot, which I think helped us. But I think as a whole, we were firing on all cylinders the first night. Day two, we went back in and we watched the first set of that this morning. The first day back in practice, we always focus on us. And, we led most of that first set. And then it just came down to some mental errors. And, we talk about we're young and we make these errors that we have to eliminate them. And then they kind of take a lead. We fight back in the end, and it's 24-23. And unfortunately, someone who doesn't typically miss that serve. But, we talk about today just continuing to trust the process. I do think that we are getting better in all areas of the game. One thing that we talked about is we've got to get to a point where everyone on our team is stacking back-to-back days together. I think that we had a few people this weekend. Our middles did a fantastic job of putting back-to-back games together. I think Kennedy and Sophia both did a really good job as well. And then our setters were fairly consistent. I think our hitters have got to just be able to be the ones that can really have two good games. And if they're off in one area, they've got to be able to be successful somewhere else. But I do believe we're getting better. We're growing, and that it will all come together at the right time is what I told them today. So just continue to trust the process, and it will all work out.
I want to talk about Friday a little bit because you guys seized the momentum early in those first two sets, and you took a 2-0 lead. And then App State kind of felt like they started to get it together and they were on a roll. And they had the momentum in that fourth set as well. And there was a clear shift at that point in time where your girls just kind of killed App State's momentum and really took it all over on their side. And it was done by a group of players with Chelsea Gilmore, Krause, and Irvin. Kind of talk about that mentality and that flip, knowing that like they were down, but the whole team kind of rise up together, and it wasn't just necessarily one star. It was a group effort that kind of came together and seized that momentum.
Definitely. So one thing that we've talked about is we recognize when those moments happen, when we go down, and we've got to do a better job of being able to control it mentally and put a stop to it. So the third set, I don't think that we did a great job with that. The fourth sets, I would say as a collective, those that were on the bench, those that were on the court, recognize it and put it into it. We went on a 10-0 run and were able to come back and win that set. And so I think the biggest thing for us is continuing to see when those moments do happen and knowing that it is a game of errors. Like, we are going to make mistakes, but we can't let one turn to two and two to three and four and so on. And so if we can continue to recognize that and not allow it to happen, then we'll put ourselves in a good position. But like you said, we had multiple players that started firing off. Like, we were really good offensively. I need to shout out Harley too. Harley has done a great job of coming off the bench and getting us back into the game. She did it at Texas State. She did it this weekend. And so she's played a huge role in that area.
I was going to ask you about Harlan before you mentioned her.
Yeah.
Did you expect that with her coming off to start, the fourth set on Friday?
Did I expect her to be able to do that? Oh, 100%. Yes. She did it at Texas State. We know what she's capable of. She went back and forth with a starting role for us early on. And then, Harley and Grace have beat her out just as we look at both sides of the game. But we know what she's capable of. Her arm, the velocity that she puts behind a ball is unbelievable. And so if she can put herself in a position to go and score, she is going to score 9 out of 10 times because she's just going to power through the block. She was moving the ball around. She was swinging high. She was swinging down. And she really came in clutch for us.
Kind of talk about Marley Irvin a little bit. She had a huge game, and we talked about her being part of that momentum boost in the fourth set on Friday. She really showed up and showed out. kind of talk about her and just her development as far as the season goes.
Yeah, so early on we talked, she was the one that was going back and forth with Harley because for us, we think Marley's more of a gamer. She seems to excel more in a game and stand out more than in practice at times, but for us, Marley's deceiving. You know, she's very long, and it might not look like she has a lot of power behind her, but she's almost like a whip. And if she stays high, she's over the block. She can move around the block really well. And I mean, she went off on Friday. I think she had 14 kills. She did a phenomenal job for us. And so we've got to just get her to be a little bit more consistent from day 1 to day 2 or vice versa, depending on, how she comes out. But when she's on, she's on. She does a really good job of moving the ball around for us and finding ways to score.
So you're going on the road this weekend to a talented USM team of pivotal 2 Sun Belt West matches. What do you see your team needing to do to come out with a sweep of those 2 matches rather than a split?
Yeah, so I told him this morning, the first thing we have to do is respect their defense. This weekend against Arkansas State, they went 4-5 and they had 83 and 100 digs, which in our matches, we were at like 40 and 60. And so that stat right there alone speaks volumes to how they are defensively. And, told the team, we've got to start with respecting their game right there because there are going to be long rallies. They have a really good libero. She's very talented. She's very fast. They're scrappy. They're going to run balls down. But on the other side of things, if we put a good scout together and stick to that, we can be successful. It's a big game for us, a big weekend for us. I know Kaylin going back to where she started, it's big for her. And so we know that we want to be, we want to go take care of business for her. We want to have her back in every way possible, and the team's talking about that. And so we, as a staff, have got to put a good game plan together for them.
You're hitting like 260 as a team right now. Last year, right about now, you were hitting 160. It wasn't very good. What's the biggest difference?
Yeah. So it is something that we're practicing a lot. I think 260 is probably the best in program history because first year we had said it, and I think it was a 235 was team hitting percentage. And we've told them we've got to be able to take care of the ball if we want to be successful. And early on, I think that we were making a lot of just silly errors. So we started putting them in situations. We started running different drills. And there was one point against App State in the first set. I looked at the screen and we were hitting a 700 and I was like, I shouldn't have done that. I don't know what's going to happen next. We ended up hitting like a 400 or 500 that first set. And so I think that we have done a very good job of taking care of the ball consistently. Now, when you go into day 2 of App State, set 1, we hit a 0. And so we have tended to find one set, whether it's the first day, the second set, or the second day, where we've kind of fallen off offensively and we just have like a mental lapse for some reason. And so that's one thing that I would like us to do a little bit better job of is recognizing that early and just taking care of the ball so that doesn't happen.
We kind of touched on it last week about how with the way that the tournament works out, these East games don't necessarily factor into overall record. And you kind of talked about how you were kind of worried about talking to your team about that because you didn't want it to have a negative effect. But they looked like this was for all the marbles when they went out there and played. How kind of was your assessment of like their mentality and their aggressiveness heading into App State this weekend?
Yeah, so I did choose not to tell them prior to the match because I did want to see how we would come out, regardless of if it mattering or not for seeding purposes. I was very happy with how we came out. I think we do a really good job of coming out day 1. And it's, again, the consistency part of the day 2, but I do think we're figuring things out. I told him after the match day 2, like, they didn't know this, but the silver lining is those matches don't necessarily count towards our seeding in the conference tournament or getting in for that matter. And so we now have been put in this situation twice. We have to learn from it. And one of our captains, Riley, she spoke up about it and there was good conversation afterwards. I don't think it sat well with the team. I think that they were upset with, the outcome, even more so that it happened twice. And so I feel good moving into this week with it happening the way that it did. I told him this morning, as much as I hate losing, I try to find, things that and say that everything happens for a reason. As crazy as this might sound, our record was 10-4 on 10-4. We split with them because maybe we're supposed to see them early on in the conference tournament, and it's hard to beat a team 3 times. And maybe we needed to learn this going into Southern Miss this weekend so it doesn't happen again. And so trying to still find the positives in it, because I do think that we are growing. I do think that we are getting better in a lot of areas on our game, and it's going to click at the right time for us.
I want to talk about
that issue the next 5 weekends.
Do what?
You don't have that issue the next 5 weekends.
No, we can't.
Lindsey Henry. You were very high on her in the beginning of the season. She was another one who had a very sneaky, great performance Friday night. She, I believe, 4 blocks and then double-digit kills as well. Kind of talk about her as a young player. How is her development coming along, and what have you seen for her as the season's progressed?
Yeah, she did a phenomenal job for us. She is young. She is growing a lot. And actually, I brought both middles in Saturday morning after our match, and I told them, listen, I know I've been on both of you extremely hard, and I'm going to continue to be, because you guys saw what you were capable of last night. Like, you both put up great numbers for us. We fed you the ball. You were successful, and it puts us in a position to win. I said, so you set the standard again. Like, you rose the bar. The ceiling is high for both of you. I'm going to continue to push you because I love you and I know what you're capable of. And they both went and had a great second day. They both put up really good numbers. CG had, way more attempts than Lindsey did. It was 21-9. And so Lindsey still hit over a 400 day too, which is phenomenal. But I told our setters, we've got to be able to distribute the ball to her just as many times as Chelsea, because they are effective for us. And so I told him again today, very proud of them for being able to stack days.
Finally, how happy and pleased were you seeing the reception from fans this weekend coming to the Pink-Out game?
Again, they're unbelievable. We set another attendance record. 989, I think, is what our attendance was day one. And so we're a little over 5,000 for the year. So I'm hoping by next weekend we can surpass our season attendance record so that we really just blow that out of the water this year. But I had people coming up to me that had never come, just talking about like how fun it is, and they had heard about it, and they plan on coming back. And so I encourage people to continue to come. If you haven't, then come watch us, because the games are fun. They're fast. Unfortunately they're loud, but for us, we enjoy it. It's just a good time.